We will look at the labeling tool. The objectives here are to learn how to label plan information, and then we'll look at the other available label tools that are present in Geopak. The Geopak labeling tool allows the user to place smart labels, and that means these labels will derive their information from the intelligence of COGO elements like alignments, profiles, cross-sections. They have the ability to calculate XYZ coordinates, stations, offsets, elevations, directions, as well as several other different types of information. So let's go into the labeling tool, go into a MicroStation file, and see how the label tool works. Now, to access the label tool, the label tool we're going to use for this this lesson or this example is going to be the plan view labeler. But there are also labelers for the cross section, for profiles, for drainage, for water and sewer. I mean, there's several different label tools. They all basically look the same, only they have you have the ability to derive associated information. For instance, if we're using the profile label tool, it will be specific to the profile, and the same thing with plan and with the cross-section information. But in this case, we're going to use the plan view labeler. To access the plan view labeler, we're going to go to Applications, Geopak Road, Plan Preparations, and Plan View Labeling. And we get the plan view labeler. Now, we have style files, options, scales, and tools. We'll look at these a little bit later, but we're going to first look at the tabs across the top of the labeler. The first one is text, and what we're going to do first is select our GPK file. Our job is 200. Our chain, this particular chain, is going to be main road. And we're going to go find our TIN file, because we're going to utilize this information or these resources to derive this information. And we're going to go to let me go back. Use ground.tin. Now, right below here we have the label features. And we can select Geopak or MicroStation element, which means that we can actually label and apply information or derive information from a MicroStation element. We have point location, we have a Geopak a point line, and also an arc information. To the right of that, we have the computed text. In other words, if we select the data point, and we hit a data point here, then we can get the X coordinate for that particular point, the Y coordinate, the 10 elevation at that location, the station. We can get an offset, and we can do left or right. Okay, and that is right of the alignment. So we have a tremendous amount of information we can get in or derive from the computed text box. As well as computed text, we also have something called user inserts. And if I select user inserts, you'll see that this is just a list of commonly used terms. Connector, crown, eastbound. These are stored in the bin directory, the Geopak bin directory, and they're stored with an extension of an INS file. And these can be created by any user. If you go into Notepad, put in certain terminology that you use on a regular basis that may not be standard terms that are used, but you use within your office, you can place that information into that Notepad file, save it as a .ins file, give it a name, and you can call that file up. If I say open insert file, it takes me, like I said, to the bin directory, and we have one. These are defaults that are delivered with Geopak. We have a bridge, a drainage, a plan, a utility, and a cross-section. So in this case, we're using the plan file, And we have, like I said, terms such as approach, asphalt. If we double click that word, it automatically puts it up into the label box. Now let's look at our parameters. Under parameters, we have information such as text height. This is text related information. And what I'm going to do is back up to the text file or text tab, and we're going to select a point down here. We're going to actually create a label, and we're going to go back to computed text, and we're going to clear this information. And in this box we can put a space, a return. We can clear that information. We can do a delimiter. The delimiter is where the line or the leader line will intersect, and we have place label. So at this particular location, we're going to put, first of all, we're going to go in here and type in X and equals. This is something that you could put into a user insert file. And then we're going to say coordinate, X coordinate, double click on that, and it places it in the box. We're going to hit return. We're going to say Y equals, and we'll do the Y coordinate. And then we can put a delimiter where our line division is going to be, and we can put station and just type in STA and double click on station, hit a return, and we'll just do an elevation. Just say EL equals, and we'll do an elevation from the 10, and there we have elevation from 10. Now we've created a XY station and offset for this particular point, and we're going to use that information to create our label. So next we're going to go to parameters, and you'll notice that since we put a delimiter here rather than just a return, we have a line separating our information. Now if we want to make this information a different color, we go in and set all that information in this box, or create all that information in this box. We can set the justification, the text height, the text width, the line spacing. If we think that line spacing is too large, we can go in and hit 0 and just make it 3, and it adjusts that line spacing automatically. To set this information, to set the level, color, font, weight, we have several ways of doing that. We can set by current, which refers to the current microstation symbology up here at the top. We can set by element. In other words, we want to set it to this particular symbology that's already existing with our stationing. We can do that. We can set by a DNC manager symbology, or we can set all parameters. In other words, set all these parameters at one time. So what I'm going to do is set by element. Select this, select the element, accept it, and you'll notice that it changed all this information. Now it set this at 15. I want to go back and change this to leave that at 15, change my spacing, my line spacing probably to 10, to spread that out a little bit so that we have the same symbology here in our note that we have on the screen. You notice it also reset our justification. So once that's done, then we can go to shape, and we can put no shape. We can put a rectangle around it. If you use a shape or put a shape around it, you also have an option here for offset. The offset means the line offset from the text, and in this case I'm going to put let's try 5 and enter, and that's not very much, so we may make it 10. All right, so now we've got a box. It's offset. We can also use a circle. We can use an ellipse. We use a hexagon, octagon, whatever we want to use, whatever we want to see around there, as well as some brackets. So we're going to use this. We're going to leave this with a box around it. We can also set that box the same symbology that our text is, and we'll set by element. Select this line, and you'll notice that it automatically changes this. So now we've selected a shape. We have a shape around it, and what we're actually doing here is creating a special label style. Okay, and we're going to be able to save that here in a minute and use it over and over again. So now we've got a leader. Do we want a no leader, 1 point, 2 point, a 3 point leader, or a curve? I'm just going to pick a 2 point leader. Do I want no terminator, open, a closed terminator, or an active terminator? An active terminator is actually a cell that can be created in a cell library of a special arrowhead. In this case, we just want a closed terminator. When I select closed terminator, it wants to know if it wants to be filled. And once again, I'm going to have the ability to set this up by element, and I want it to be this same color. And so it automatically changes that information. And then we have rotation. Under rotation, we can set for current angle, whatever our current angle is. In other words, if we had a line that we were putting information on, it would take into consideration the angle of that line. We have an element angle, and we have an alignment angle. Now, the alignment angle means if I'm placing this particular text, what angle to the in reference to the alignment do I want to place that? If I come in and place it at 90, or if I go and place it at 180, I can place it at 270, okay, to the alignment. Now, once we have this done, we can go into styles. Now, the first thing I want to do is show you that now that I have this information in here, and you notice I have X, Y, and we're going to place a label. I'm going to zoom in here to our point, and I'm going to say place label. When I move into the screen, you'll see that we've got a relatively large label here, which is exactly what we want. It's the same text size as our stationing. Now, one thing I can do is actually come in here and rotate this 180, say place label, and place it in here. Now, once I place this, I come out and place a second point, which gives me my pivot point for my leader line, and I select that, and the label's placed. Now, watch what happens when I go select another point. Watch this information, because when I go back to text and say point, and I come over here to this side, you'll notice that that information changed. I can place label, place another label with the correct information, and do that all the way through. I don't even have to go back to text now. I can actually just come over here, hit another data point. It automatically throws the label onto my cursor. I can place it, come out here, place my leader, and I've placed these labels. Now, once the label is placed, and you only have to place it one time, once the label is placed, then I can go to styles. And under styles, I have labels. I have line labels. If I double click on that, I have an azimuth label. Azimuth. I have a bearing and length. I have a bearing length and a box. I also have arc labels. I have point labels. These are default point labels. I have northern, east, and station in a box, station offset, and I have station offset and elevation from the 10. So these are delivered to you with the product. Okay, but what I want to do is create a new style. So I'm going to create a new point style. I'm going to say new style. There it shows me the style that has been created or has been placed on the screen. I'm going to give it a name class. I'm going to give it the style scale of 1, and I'm going to say OK. Now if you look, we've added a style here of class, and I can utilize this anytime I want to over and over again. So you can go in and create your own personal label styles and place these in here, and they will always be there for you. All right. Now we also have style files. We can create a new style file. We can open an existing line style file. In other words, you see LSF, that's a line style file. We can save, or we can save as. And then this is exit. You also have what we call an audit trail, which will show you all of the default, all of the line style files that have been used, if you have several of them, and you can pick from here. We have options. We can minimize the dialog. Whenever we get through, we can use reference file coordinates. If we want to use reference file coordinates, we can do that. You can use DP element association. We can do our label tools, which it just gives us the same information or same access that we have up here in a toolbox type format. We have things like rotate label by element angle, several different tools for use with the labeler. We have scale, change the scale. Tools, we have a label updater where we can actually update all the labels. Selection set labeling, where we can go in and do a selection set, and then the plan label preferences, which lets you use label preferences. We can go in and set bearings, distance information, elevation information, and area. Once you put information in here, it'll be necessary to hit the apply button for them to take effect. Okay. So once we put this information in here, the information is placed as a graphic group, which means that if I want to delete it, it's deleted as one unit. Okay. And that will conclude our session on the labeler.